What's up, everyone? I'm here with Doug Jones. We're talking about your new movie, The Bye Bye Man. Hits theaters Friday, January 13th. Kind of a tough date to forget for a horror movie.
For a horror movie.
Thank you so much for coming in today to talk
Thank
about
you
the
for
film.
having me, Jim.
You know, the Bye Bye Man himself is sort of a play on like the classic boogeyman.
Yeah.
Is that a correct assumption?
I think that he fits in that category for sure.
What do you think makes this incarnation particularly scary?
Right, which is what appealed to me. I get offered a lot of horror film scripts. You know, when you are an actor who wears lots of crazy makeups, you get thought of for horror films a lot. So there's a lot of that typical script that I'm not drawn to. This was not that typical script. It was the Bye Bye Man. He appears and can only infect you and wreak havoc in your life if you say his name or think his name. That's why the poster says, "Don't think it, don't say it, don't think it, don't say it," right? Because the Bye Bye Man. What he does, instead of him, that doesn't give him license to come and start stabbing you and slicing your head off, and it's not blood splatter on the wall.
Okay.
I love that part. I love that it's more of a psychological twist. He gets into your life and he finds your weaknesses and your personal flaws, and he plays on them, makes all your fears come right to the surface, makes you not trust your friends, makes you see hallucinations. So you're not trusting the life that you know around you once I've come in. And then you will do all my killing for me. You'll start killing each other, and everyone who's heard my name will also go crazy in turn. So the trick is, and the running danger throughout the entire film is that everyone in the movie is always this close to hearing or saying or thinking the Bye Bye Man, right?
Yeah.
So there's a constant tension that you're never relieved from, you know. And there are a few characters in the movie who remain safe. I won't tell you who, but these poor three college kids, bless their hearts, and they're pretty, as a horror film should do, right? But the three kids
That won't last, I'm sure. That's the first thing to go. You're going to end up grimy looking.
Oh, bless their hearts. But one in particular, there's three kids living in a house together off campus, and they're played by three young, beautiful, amazing actors: Douglas Smith and Cressida Bonas and Lucien Laviscount. I mean, how'd I do? And the three of them are roommates and friends, but it's Douglas Smith, the tall, lanky Douglas Smith. And of course, I'm Doug Jones. That wasn't a mix-up on set ever, all the time.
No, get the tall. Oh, wait.
There's two Dougs, and Smith and Jones. It doesn't get worse than that. But he's the main character that I actually, that discovers my name etched in a drawer and reads it out loud, and bing, I'm invited in now. So it was fun to appear throughout the movie and to see the effect of what I've done in his life, and that has a ripple effect to the people around him who then hear my name. But you mostly see my relationship with him.
Okay.
He plays Elliot in the movie, and yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the look of the character. Since you are an actor whose physicality comes into all of his roles, and also the character's been sort of obscured in some of the marketing. So what can you tease us about the look of the character and what sort of input you had into any of the design elements?
I often don't like to have input of my own in design elements. I have worked with the best makeup artists in the world. They win Oscars and things and Emmys, and it's not my job to tell them, oh, this doesn't look right. Oh my gosh, it's so not my job. My job is to make their thing come to life and to do my acting part. But so this design is absolutely beautiful. Now you see, I'm hooded a lot. I'm hooded and shadowed through much of the film. There is a good reveal, like any horror film should have. So you'll see the beautiful detail that went into my look, and it harkens back to my backstory, and the torture that I suffered as a child, and the reasons for why I'm doing what I do. It's kind of a classic case of hurt people hurt people. So I have my own issues and my own downfalls and flaws and insecurities and child abuse and thing that the Bye Bye Man had to suffer through. So now he's working out his issues for eternity through anyone else who will say his name and invite him in. So that look then is kind of you'll see. I don't want to over talk it, but he's been through something horrific, and so he puts that horrific thing through his victims as well. His victims end up maybe looking something like him.
Told you they weren't going to last pretty. I mean, that's just
And
that's
so
how it goes. I mean,
I'm just saying. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, pretty isn't forever. Okay, but my
all
makeup
things must pass.
right. My makeup was designed and applied on set by Robert Kurtzman, and he's like a veteran with creature and monster makeups over the years, and we'd heard about each other for decades and never been able to work together until The Bye Bye Man. So he's a keeper. He's an absolute keeper, and what he designed, you'll see when the hood comes down for the first time, you'll be like, oh, okay, that's
that's why.
because he actually made a way of making me look creepy, gross, haunting, threatening, and handsome all at the same time. I don't know how he did it. Don't know how he did it.
Comic-Con does that to me.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much after any party. Now let's talk about one thing that we can make out, which is those
hands.
absurdly long fingers.
Yeah.
Not yours. What tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about the hands and what's up with the fingers? What's all that
So many
about?
characters I play people have recognized me for years and years. They say, I knew those hands. I keep getting, these are what give me away when I'm doing a movie. So I already am long and skinny, but they wanted to play on that, and they made my fingers even longer. So I had finger extensions on each finger that were blended into my own, so they kept them as skinny as they possibly could, but made them longer. So, and it was just long enough that it's like, it's a little off-putting. It's just a little off-putting. It doesn't look like alien fingers out to here, like you know they're extensions. It looks like, what is wrong with that man's hands, and why is he pointing to that finger? Why is it coming to my head? Get away! So it works. I think it totally works.
What are there is that psychological horror aspect to this story. What are the things that appeal to you? And it just as somebody who watches horror films, what are those elements that make for a good horror movie for you?
Thank you for asking that, because I'm not a blood on the wall lover at all.
Yeah.
I'm not a gore lover. I love being a little bit frightened by what is around the corner, the things you can't see. This movie is full of around the corners, because of that constant threat that's in the air, and not knowing what the next apparition will be that I will be influencing or puppeteering. There's just that constant, oh gosh, oh geez, don't open that door, don't get in that car, what you're seeing isn't real, don't react to it. So it evokes so much protectiveness over these poor innocent characters that I'm after in the movie. That's what appealed to me, is the danger, not the blood.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I feel like dread is sort of a thing that, oddly enough, is tough for a lot of horror movies to actually pull off. They can do the jolt, they can do the scare or find the humor in the moment. Right. But yeah, that kind of agonizing sense of dread seems to be something that's just not in a lot of horror filmmakers' skill sets anymore.
Right. And I'm sure, now I still have yet to see the film, but as I recall, we probably will have a good jump scare here and there for you too, if you enjoy those. But mostly it's about the twist in the mind. Yeah.
Now, we've talked about your physicality as an actor and how it definitely comes into play here. A lot of filmmakers nowadays are going to say embrace new technologies like performance capture, motion capture. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? And that sort of, do you find that as an actor who has been able to use their physicality and has made you a very popular, very specific choice for things, what are your thoughts on motion capturing this idea that, well, if you just put anybody in a leotard with dots on it, we could have anybody do it? I feel like in a way it kind of robs the uniqueness of not always. I love some of the things like that Andy Serkis does, but I feel like I don't know. Can you just address your thoughts on motion capture and what it might mean for actors like you who are old school and they're doing it physically? They're in the outfit and they have to, it's a lot of work.
Thank you for saying that. It is indeed a lot of work, but performance capture and practical effects makeup, they both require a skill set that is admirable, I think. Now, I have done very little motion capture, contrary to what people believe. Most every character you've seen me play has been a glued-on something. Now, I've had CG enhancements on those makeups many a time, and that's where what I love about CG and the world of visual effects is the combo platter that can come now that we didn't have the access to before without the technology, right?
Right.
So now you can make an elaborate makeup move in places that you can't make it move from inside the face, or without building mechanics that are loud or heavy or cumbersome or bulky. You can do things with CG that will really make a character come to life, and that's what I love about the technology. I think that for a minute there, when CG was introduced, and it was like, oh, there was a fear that it would be like the short answer on a movie set. Like, oh, yeah, we'll CG that later. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And taking that artistry and that ownership away from the monster makers, you know. But I think the audience is who balked about this. The audience did, because now the technology is getting better all the time, and those digital creations are getting more and more beautiful and seamless. But there's something about this connection, and I've found that an audience wants to connect with another human being playing a part. And doing the convention circuit like I do when I'm not working on films, I love to have that contact with the fans who watch what we do, and that's what I hear over and over and over again. I get thanked, and I get gushings about practical effects and how much they love that the old school is still happening. And I think there's been more of a return to it. I think with the advent of CG effects and all that, it was the short answer a lot quickly. And then now people have been coming back. J.J. Abrams, bless his heart, did it with the Star Wars movie. The resurgence of Star Wars now brought way more practical back into that than the other three that happened.
And the practical effects, let's face it, they age better than digital effects. I mean, just in 2 years' time, certain digital effects just, you know, and a lot of them don't pass the uncanny valley test. There is, like you said, it comes down to the eyes, and I feel like motion capture is only, I think with the recent Planet of the Apes movies, have been able to get that light in the eye.
They have.
That
that's
soulful.
Great example of the technology getting as good as it has gotten. And Andy Serkis, again, you mentioned him, is a prime example of that. Not just anybody can put dots on themselves and make that performance happen. It takes a skilled actor. And then Andy Serkis is absolutely that. Now, Andy and I have been asked about each other in interviews for decades. And we finally met at Comic-Con a couple of years ago and hugged it out. It was a glorious moment, actually. And we kind of agreed that we are both actors first. That's what we are. And his makeup goes on after the movie's made, and mine goes on before. That's the only difference. Right?
Interesting way to look at
Yeah.
that. I was just curious if nowadays, if somebody came along and were like, "Oh, we're gonna reboot Hellboy," would they do it with practical makeup effects? I mean, I love that Guillermo did that. I love that he, and he's a guy who does visual effects. He's very particular about when he uses it.
Right. He is. Guillermo del Toro is a prime example of a director who champions the old school methods. Well, he was a makeup artist himself. When he wanted to become a filmmaker and a storyteller back in his youth in Mexico, the best way he knew to make a monster was to make it himself and film it. So he developed a skill set early on. So when we make movies with him, and I play a monster or a creature of any sort, he's very hands-on with the process, more than any other director would be. He gets in the design process and the fittings and the tests, and really wants to and makes changes and works side by side with the monster makers and the creature designers.
One of the first things that ever got me interested in movies was all the creature makeup, behind-the-scenes stuff on Star Wars movies, guys like Phil Tippett, or in other movies like Rick Baker, Stan Winston, and of course, when you're 10 years old and you ask your mother to buy mortician's wax, they're like, no. So
what's wrong with my...
That's why I'm interviewing people now.
Right, exactly.
Now, I do
Did he need more hugs? What did we do? Where did we go wrong?
I just wanted mortician's wax. What's so wrong? I want to ask you, though, about another project of yours that I'm particularly excited about, and that's Star Trek Discovery. And I know you can't say much.
I can't. I don't know much.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking before we came in here. can you say when you start filming, or
We are in January now.
Yeah.
It's finally 2017, and so yeah, later on this month
Okay.
we'll be starting filming, and yeah, that'll be a good long chunk of time. I'll be gone filming for that, and yeah, all I can say is what's already been out there, which is that I am a new breed of alien that you've never seen on the series before, or in any of the movies. And so which I'm tickled pink about, that I get to, from the ground up,
Yeah.
help develop and find this character and his species and what we're all about from the get-go. Instead of taking a folklore that's already existed in the
Right.
franchise and trying to appease the fans, in playing a new one of those. This is a whole new thing that we get to discover together, which I'm really excited about.
Pun.
Oh, Discovery. That's the name of the show. And I will be the science officer.
How do you say his name? Saru?
Saru.
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 Okay.
Lieutenant Saru is what they've said so far. Now, rank, of course, can change over the years. I don't know where I'll be heading from here. Well, let's hope up.
Admiral Saru. We heard it here first.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Were you a Star Trek fan? Did that? What actually drew you into?
I don't
wanting to do
think
this?
you can watch TV or film and not be a Star Trek fan. Now, there's Trekkers, Trekkies. I've been schooled on the differences and all that. So, but I am an admirer of the franchise, both the movies and all the TV series incarnations. I have not seen every episode of every show, and I can't give you details on what the tribbles are, or tribbles.
Tribbles, you had it right.
Did I have it right the first time? Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
yep. It's okay.
Oh, this is going to be so hard.
Better here than in the convention.
That's right. That's
center, you know?
exactly.
This is when you get all your goofs out now.
You're right. So, but even with channel flipping over the years, you can't not land on a Star Trek series of some sort, an episode here and there. So I am familiar with all of the captains and all of the different ships over the years, and it's so I'm totally excited to be a part of that universe and that the love, because that opens up. When they announced in the trades that some casting had been happening and my name was tossed in there, the gush of social media traffic was insane.
Yeah.
I've already have a respectable following, not a huge following, and the numbers went up fast and with so much like, oh my gosh, this is going to be great. The
You
excitement.
will be at Comic-Con for the rest of your life. Like you already had enough reasons.
I have
to be
30
going
years
there.
of geekery behind me already,
You know?
so this I thought, well, where do you go from here? Well, now I found out.
I was kind of stunned that you had never been on a Star Trek episode.
I never
had to
had.
go back and look, and I was
No,
like, really? All
nothing.
these things he's done, he was never on one.
Right.
You know? But I can't wait to see it. I really do wish
Thank
you
you.
the best of luck with that, and of course with the Bye Bye Man, which hits theaters Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Doug Jones, thank you so much for coming by today and talking with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.